Hey everybody, Stinger here. I want to invite you to a pretty cool podcast.
Watch this film. Be quite nice. Have a good time. You'll be very evil. And you'll love that Danhausen.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
Yes, it is I, Big E, but more importantly, it is you.
And you might remember me from such YouTube greats as Being the Elite and Chris Daniels Almost Dies.
And if you're looking for the very best wrestling content, you better come to Good Mic Work Commentary.
And I'm just going to tell you now, as a role model, you got to tune into this because if you also want to be a role model, you got to learn from the best.
We have a rapport, and we have been so close over so many years. This is not a cameo or a paid endorsement in any regard. This is a message of friendship.
Man, we met 20 years ago, 21 years ago now. Time is flying, isn't it?
I want to wish you all the best in your YouTube channel, and hopefully I can maybe make a special guest appearance on there sometime.
And he used to say, "Hey, Greg Morgan," and he used to say, "Please call me Greg," and I wouldn't do it.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Awesome YouTube channel. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you know what I'm talking about.
We would do verbal chain wrestling. You know, we'd be off in the yard, the schoolyard at recess.
And he's also a 40-year-old wrestling fan. That's a long damn time.
And we'd just be staring at each other, and he'd say, hammerlock. And I'd say, all right, I've reversed the hammerlock into a hammerlock of my own, then I put you in a headlock. And, you know, that would go on for hours.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT. This guy covers it all, my friends. I want you to go to his page, Good Mic Work on YouTube.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
But we would have fun. We would run around. There would be a wooden hoop we would hit with a stick, and it would go down a hill.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
It's a very practical apparatus.
We're really lacking in the world right now with some people that have a freaking brain cells.
And now look at him. He has more YouTube views and subscribers than I do, and I'm fine with it because I played such an integral role in his upbringing.
Don't you dare be sour.
We always talked about wrestling. He was a big Lou Thez guy, and of course I had an affectation for the Hackenschmidts.
Clap for Good Mic Work Commentaries.
This is RJ City, a wrestling rock on tour.
And feel the pow.
Listen to the podcast, subscribe.
You are watching Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Just want to encourage all you guys to check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And if you don't, we're going to have a problem.
Do it!
Do it.
Do it now!
Thanks a lot for the encomium and the nice words about my Father's Hall of Fame induction.
Hope our paths cross again sometime down the road. Would love to shake your hand again, and good luck on this podcast.
And you don't just watch it one time. You can rewatch every single one of them.
And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Happy holidays, everyone. What's going on? Welcome to your Winged Eagle podcast for Friday, December 23rd, 2022, coming at you 1 day and 30 minutes earlier than normal. Normally we do these at 3 p.m. Pacific on Saturdays, but since tomorrow is Christmas Eve and we have Sunday as Christmas Day, this was my only opportunity to get back up here and discuss some of the wrestling news that I've missed during this past week or so since my absence. So we're here for a little Christmas Eve podcast, Friday Winged Eagle, just a couple of hours before tonight's taped SmackDown and, of course, an AEW Rampage show. Both look pretty decent, but probably nothing earth-shattering going to take place on either one of those shows. We have a best of Monday Night Raw planned for this Monday, the 26th, so really no current wrestling results to really get into this weekend and in the next couple of days, but there is a lot of wrestling news to get into. So since I really wasn't here last week, many of you know why, we will be getting into a lot of wrestling news, including Sasha Banks is over in Japan already ahead of her January 4th Wrestle Kingdom appearance, and apparently she will be officially done with WWE in just a couple of days on January 1st. We've got the latest on Mandy Rose, big news on Matt Riddle that I also missed, some news on Miro, FTR, CM Punk, big AEW internal hire behind the scenes, an AEW streaming deal, which is imminent, coming up in 2023, and a new look Dynamite and Rampage, also confirmed by Tony Khan. We've got the latest on Jeff Hardy, some Hacksaw Jim Duggan news, and of course, the return to the ring by John Cena, getting that wrestling match in 2022 at the very end. I don't think Cena has worked all year and almost went the entire year of 2022 without having a wrestling match, but he will be in the ring 1 week from today on December 30th for SmackDown, teaming up with KO, taking on Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. We'll discuss the implications of that and a big pitch that I have for the Royal Rumble that could actually see John Cena, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin all in the Rumble match together. Pitching that later on, so stay tuned for that. We'll look ahead as well to a couple of big shows coming up. I mentioned that January 30th SmackDown. Also, the December 30th SmackDown. Also, January 2nd, Raw is shaping up to be a big show with Theory and Rollins and Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss. And we'll get into some WrestleMania speculation. We'll talk about the Royal Rumble, possibilities for Brock Lesnar and Gunther and Roman and Cody and all that stuff. We'll kind of get into it, listen to what you guys have to say in the chat, and we might even circle back and talk about this past week's Dynamite with Rick Ross dropping a big motherfucker line on Dynamite and a great main event between Jamie Hayter and Hikaru Shida, and of course the Elite pulling closer in that best of 7 series with the Death Triangle and any other AEW news and notes we need to get into. So that's kind of what's on tap for today. In terms of this weekend, unfortunately, nothing going on. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve. I'm going to be very busy at work, and then, of course, Christmas Day. A lot of stuff planned that day with family and whatnot. Really not a day to come up here and be streaming. So nothing going on this weekend. Also, the day after Christmas, the 26th, no reason to come up here and do a Raw watch-along or review either because it's just a best-of show, so nothing to really do there. I think the next time you might see me after today, I'll know for sure in a couple of days, but it might be Wednesday night again for Dynamite. But I'm also expecting some mic drops and YouTube shorts to be hitting the channel in the next couple of days just to keep content flowing. But in terms of me coming up here live and talking about anything fresh, probably going to be a few days after today, which I'm sorry about because the Christmas holiday is coming right after the absence that you guys have already experienced from me here on this channel. But we are going to be kicking things into full gear in 2023. Lots of stuff planned. We're going to kick off those Royal Rumble watch-alongs. Unfortunately, not going to be able to start those until Sunday, January 8th. Of course, this Sunday is Christmas Day. The following Sunday is New Year's Day, so there won't be a watch-along for a classic pay-per-view on that day either, just because of the way the calendar falls. So we will start Royal Rumble watch-alongs again on January 8th. I also have a fun random video. I went ahead and took footage, pictures, and videos of my insane 80s and 90s baseball card collection for shits and gigs. I thought it might be fun to put up on the channel during the holiday season. Of course, this got delayed due to my circumstances with Bub, but I do plan on recording a voiceover for that and chucking that up on the channel just for fun. Also, a lot of times at the end of the year, I do a Q&A, like a big year-end Q&A. We didn't get around to scheduling that this year either, and due to my work schedule, we're not going to have time to get this in before the end of the year. So what I think we're going to do instead is schedule a Q&A for Royal Rumble weekend. I think that will be a perfect weekend to do it on. I'm also going to be planning a Royal Rumble watch-along for this year's 2023 Royal Rumble. We're going to watch that together this year, and maybe we'll stack up some fun things to do that weekend, maybe a classic watch-along, the Q&A, stuff like that. So we're going to kind of bump all of that up to Royal Rumble weekend in January next month. I think that will be a lot of fun for Royal Rumble weekend. So keep that in mind. And other than that, I don't really have anything else, in my head to inform you guys about in terms of scheduling, but that's kind of what I have planned next month, and we're going to be hitting the ground running come 2023. If any of you here in the United States are in the path of this gnarly bomb, cyclone, winter storm, blizzard hell that's wreaking havoc over a majority of the United States, my thoughts are with you. I'm chilling down here in sunny California, sunny Southern California. It is currently 66 degrees out today, and it is bright, sunny, and no issues here. So I might have to wear a jacket later tonight when the temperature goes down, but I'm not experiencing what you guys are experiencing. So if you are in the path of this thing, if you are watching me right now with a negative 30 below wind chill factor or something like that, just know that I'm with you. Hope you're doing well. Stay warm, drink some hot chocolate, that type of shit. And hopefully you can kick back and enjoy this podcast just a little bit before SmackDown airs on Fox. I'm going to cruise over here to the chat and say hi. And also, I want to shout out all of the Patreon supporters and the channel members. Let's start with them. I want to thank all of the current channel members. If you would like to join, you can do so by clicking the join button below, or there is a link in the description that you can click and find out all of the information on how to join there as well if you would like to become a member and support. I would like to thank Kevin and Red Raven Rucker, Ramon Coffey, MJ Parker, Danny Allmark, Ruben Litton, Fox Star Killer, Chaz Medeiros, The Juliet 316, Brandon Collier, Ray Frand, Alan Carter, Ian Joe Dunn, Randall Yates, Deshaun Robinson, Zach Palgett, NG Dre, Sean 2018, Jordan Karg, Financial Truth Academy, Devlin Husband, Mike Tong, Longboard, Ian Dunn, Sam Paboon, Jeff McMahon, Mikey Too Cool, Luke McAllister, Tar Brehan, Zelius Ward, William, Bo Kavlovic, Spider AR, Zach H, Chris Miner, Mike Witt. By the way, Mike Witt, you were blocked for some reason. You are not anymore. I'm sorry about that confusion. If you're in the chat, what's up to you? No idea how that happened, but thanks for making me aware of that. Jimmy Anderson, C-Mac Mab, Joshua Aparicio, How Weezy, Spaz Phoenix, Ronnie, Nicole Lensing, Marcus the Entertainer, Nikita Abalakin, Divine Ricks, Zane G, Chris Barrera, Michael Kumo, John J.E. Dennett, Tatanani, Nick Musser, K-Dog's Kennel, Max Pokebra, Spectra, Reese Jones, Victor Cologne, Isaac, George Morris, Stephen Taylor, Population 420, and JJ Legg. Thank you for all of your support and for joining the family. Also want to thank Joseph Hudson, Chris Broski, Divine Ricks, Nikita Abalakin, Chris Miner, Super Fluffy Toaster, Deshaun Robinson, Alan Carter, Brandon Yelverton, Nick Musser, K-Dog's Kennel, What's Up Kevin, Ryan Y, John Redifer, Claudio Clavadetcher, Daniel Rodriguez, Reese Jones, Josiah Blevins, John Riffle, Michael Kumo, Blake Moran, Naveed, for all of your support on the Patreon account as well. Thank you for supporting me over there for so many years, many of you. Some of you are going on 8 years of support on Patreon. That's nuts, bro. Maybe 7. Yeah, 7. I think 7 years is the longest running, almost 8 now. Holy shit, that's from Blake Moran. Unbelievable, guys. Thank you for all of the support throughout the years here on this channel. Cannot thank you enough for that. Also, let's cruise to the chat. Say hello to Zane G, Vash Starwin. We've got Red Raven Rucker. What's going on with me here? That's nuts, bro. Maybe 7. Yeah. I look a little choppy there. Oh, we're good. Okay. I couldn't see myself on the other screen here, but let me cruise over and say hi to, like I said, Zane G, Vash Starwin, Nick Musser, Red Raven Rucker, JL, Beetle 911, Max Pokebra, member for 4 months. Good to see you, man. Good riddance, Sasha. Try not to stomp out of New Japan. A lot of people not happy with Sasha for various reasons, but I'm not. I'm actually kind of happy that she's leaving WWE and is going out and seeking the money that she desires because she got it. And can't falter for that. Big J, Ben Espinoza, good to see you. David Brown, I'm glad you're here as well. Good to see Zach, Danny Almark, Hassan Terrell. Nicola is in the house. Good to see you, Kevin, as well. Deshaun is in the house, and so is How Weezy. Hey, Greg, great to see you, and sorry for your loss. Happy holiday season to yours. To you and yours, my guy. Excited to hear your thoughts about Uncle Howdy's appearance from SmackDown last Friday. I am going to get into it briefly. I just don't, unfortunately, have a whole lot to say about it because it didn't really offer any hints to who Uncle Howdy actually was. The only thing it really did was maybe imply that Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt are not the same person, but I still think that's possible. You could still just have somebody in Uncle Howdy costume and then reveal that it was Bray Wyatt all along. You can still do that. But so far, some people are feeling like it's dragging a little bit and they'd like to see the angle pick up, and I kind of agree with that. MH Nova, good to see you. Sonic Plays in the house. Destiny and George Morris, what's up? Greg, how are you doing? And how is Tito? Usually it says, how are your cats? But now it's, how is Tito? Sorry about Bub. My girlfriend is in the hospital with stomach problems, and she is very sick. Merry Christmas. Well, best of luck to your girlfriend, especially if she's in the hospital. That can't be good. And thank you, as always, George, for the token 5, and for always inquiring about my boys, the Bubster and Tito. Thanks again. Spartan Sprinkles, Dave K. Yeah, Mansouri. Mike Mansouri, is that guy's name? We'll be talking about him later on. Jimmy Anderson chiming in from across the way. Very nice super chat. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, everyone. In 30 minutes, we celebrate Christmas here in Sweden. Hope you all take care and your loved ones this weekend. Man, it is 11:30. Or close to midnight there in Sweden. So you are 9 hours ahead of me here in California. That's nuts, dude. I'm about to go into work in about 2 hours. But good to see you as well, Jimmy. Merry Christmas to you too. Happy holidays, and I'm glad that you get to ring it in first before all of us here over in the USA. Luke McAllister, thank you very much as well. Hey, Greg, glad to see you back. Hope you're doing all right. I can relate to what you're going through. I lost my dog nearly 3 years ago. That's the thing about losing a pet, which I'll talk about in a minute. It's relatable. We all go through it. I mean, how many of you in the chat have not lost a pet or not had an experience with losing a pet? If you haven't had that experience, you're going to. So I'm just going through what everybody does. And, you know, that's why I appreciate the support so much. And I understand that everybody can relate to what this kind of pain is, because we all have to live it, and it sucks, and there's really no way about it or no way around it. If you do want to be a pet owner, you're going to outlive them. It's just the way it is. Good to see Sam here as well. Domination Warrior in the house. Chris Ludek, thank you, brother. Appreciate that $5, and good to see you. I have old friends and my parents back in Connecticut, and I told, quote, "It's nice to live in Irvine, Cali. I'll be at the beach tomorrow for Christmas Eve." Yeah, you're not far from me over in Irving. And it's a little bit chilly here right now for us, you know, like at night it's getting into the low 40s and stuff. But for the rest of the country, this is a piece of cake to them. So, and especially with what they're going through right now with that crazy ass storm, man. But nuts. But thank you for that, Chris. Good to see James Williams in here as well. Happy holidays to you, my friend. Glad you're here as well, fellow Californian. We got Isaac. I'm not sure if I got you earlier. Yachiro is in the house. King Azza is here as well. My God, Kevin, -8 degrees and -35 wind chill. Fuck that. Fuck that. Nope. I don't care. Where I live, it will never be in a place that cold. I can't do it. Jimmy, a couple more from you coming in. Super chat, thank you. I, of course, mean we celebrate tomorrow. Of course, I knew that. But yeah, tomorrow is the day for most. Oh yeah, tomorrow's Christmas Eve. I'm lost. Merry Christmas Eve. That's what it is. Nelly Nell is in the house. Isaac went to SmackDown Live last week and saw the taped show airing today. Had a great time. I did peek at those results. We will not discuss spoilers later on, but I did look at the results for later tonight because I won't be watching SmackDown. So what do I care if I know the results? You know what I mean? Plus, it's taped. Deshaun, you're in New York and it's 20 degrees. Yikes. So that's only 45 degrees lower than here. There's a couple of places like in Montana, I swear it's 100 degrees colder. It's like -45 there and it's 60 here. I'm like, holy shit, 100 degree swing in some parts of the country. It's insane. But anyway, Domination Warrior, I think I got you. Team Sharp is here as well. I think that should do it for the shout-outs for the time being. If you don't mind, please do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button. This is a Friday afternoon, so I don't know what kind of audience we're going to have in here today, but I definitely missed you guys, and I missed you guys a lot. And I want to open today's podcast by thanking you all from the bottom of my heart for all of the support and all of the well wishes regarding Bub. And as many of you know, those of you who follow this channel and watch me every week and watch our watch-alongs, watch our podcasts, and follow me on social media, on Instagram and on Twitter, you know about my cat Bub. Bub has been with me for many, many years. I've shown him on streams before. He's made many camera appearances. I've put photos of him on social media. We've discussed him in podcasts before. Most of you who know this channel know who he is. And he's been my best friend for the past, 11 years. And I had to put him down last Friday after he's basically been battling all year with a terminal illness. Last January, just to kind of give you the Cliff's Notes version here. Last January, right around the Royal Rumble time, I'm sitting here on my desk just doing random editing, and he jumps up here and he wants to sit in my lap. So I'm like, yeah, come on, buddy. He comes down, sits in my lap like he always does, curls right up and goes to sleep. And I notice on his leg, he's got like a little abscess. And it's hard and clunky, and I'm like, oh shit, what's that? So I had to get him to the vet right away. Took him to the vet. They did a bunch of blood work on him and determined that he had Cryptococcus. Cryptococcus is a gnarly fungal infection that's very common in cats. He already had this about 3 years ago, and I took him to the vet. They found it, and they were able to treat it, and they said it's gnarly. If you let it go too far and it can infect the brain, it can be fatal to cats and kills a lot of cats if gone undetected, and it's very, very common. So it's a long treatment plan, like 7 months of these, this medicine you have to give him every 12 hours. And I did that, and he beat it. He completely beat the infection and got over it. And a couple of years then went by. He came and sat on my lap, like I said, excuse me, right before the Royal Rumble, and that's when I noticed the abscess. Took him to the vet, and they said that his Cryptococcus had returned. And not only had the fungal infection returned, but he also, according to the blood work, has lymphoma. Now, what sucks about that is the treatments kind of counteract each other. They can't even touch the lymphoma until they treat the Cryptococcus, but if they start treating the lymphoma, the steroids, and the treatment that you give him for that slows down the treatment of the fungal infection. So he was really in a tight spot. And they basically leveled with me and said it doesn't look good. They got him on the medicine, the antifungal, right away. 3 weeks went by. He wasn't getting any better. He was really weak in the legs. He was wobbly, running into walls when he was walking. And I thought that was it. I called the vet. I said, what do you think I should do? And they're like, before you make any hasty decisions, why don't you take him down to the ER? They have specialists there. If there's nothing else that can be done for him, they will be able to tell you that. So I did it. I took him to the ER, and the guy looked at him and told me, he pretty much concurred. He goes, he's in pretty bad shape. I think this fungal infection will take his life in about 3 weeks. I think you should put him down pretty much ASAP. But before you do that, why don't you he gave me some other medicine. He goes, why don't you take these steroids home and give that to him and see if it works. If not, if I were you, I'd probably make the call in the next couple of days. So that was like on a Friday. So I basically had in my mind that I was going to be putting him down like that Monday. And I gave him the medicine over the weekend, and he kind of got better. He stood up a little better, seemed to be a little bit more coherent. So I decided to hold off. I had that guy on speed dial ready to come to the house and put him down. He was already called. I spoke to him. He just said, let me know when you want to be there. And I'm glad that I waited, because Bub got better and he was able to bounce back and get stronger and stronger every day, to the point where he actually returned to his normal self. He was jumping again. He was playing. He was meowing. He was showing affection. And most importantly, he was eating, because that was a big problem. He didn't want to eat when he was sick. He lost a shit ton of weight, dropped from 13 pounds to 7. The vet assured me that he probably wasn't in any pain or suffering, because he's showing affection and he's eating and he's showing normal behavior. He's not hiding or being lethargic. He's normal. And he gave me nearly 10 months of normal Bub. Here I thought I was going to put him down and he was going to die in February. And he lasted all the way until last Friday. And during these months, many of those months, he was as strong as ever and basically back to how I remembered him being. But things took a turn. I mean, all this time, all year long, when he's been giving me this extra time, I knew he was terminal. I knew everything going on was going to be temporary, and he would eventually go on the decline. But I thought it would be a little bit more gradual than that. I've been watching his eating. I thought as soon as I saw him not eating anymore, that was going to be a sign, but he kept eating. And then I noticed that he was having trouble jumping. He could no longer jump up on the desk here and say hi to you guys on the stream. Then he was having trouble jumping up smaller heights like the couch. Then I've noticed he started wobbling a little bit in his walking, ran into the wall a couple times, couldn't get out of the litter box, and his hind legs were gone. There's nothing else I can do. I can't take him to the vet to get any more medicine. He's on every medicine possible. I'm giving him steroids every day. I'm giving him 3 medicines every day, in his mouth. There's nothing else to do for him. So once his hind legs went, I knew it was going to be quick. And last Thursday night, last week, it was about 2:30 in the morning, and he tried to go to the bathroom, and he just was resting on the edge of the litter box like he couldn't even get out. So I was like, that's it. I picked him right up. I'm like, that's it, buddy. We're done. I picked him up. I brought him in here, laid him on his bed, called the guy. I'm like, can you come first thing in the morning? And he's like, absolutely. He came at 9 a.m., I think, or something. And I was like, I'll stay with Bub for the next few hours. I'll just lay here with him on the couch from like 2:30 until 9 a.m. and just laid with him and just spent time with him. And then the guy showed up. And my biggest advice to any pet owner out there that might have to go through this or might have to go through this in the future, provided you can handle the emotion of it, look up services for at-home euthanasia in whatever town you live in, because that is a very comforting way, I think, for a pet to go. And this guy had just amazing reviews on his Yelp page, and this vet was, providing comfort to so many people. I was reading hundreds of reviews, all saying the same thing. Had it not been for this doctor, we would have not gotten through this. He made it so easy and so comfortable and so peaceful, and gave us peace of mind, and gave our our fur baby, a peaceful ending, and took care of everything and was compassionate. And when I read all of that, I was like, he's my guy. So he showed up here. He was great. He explained everything. And right there in Bub's own blanket in his own bed with me holding him, I was the last, person that he saw, basically. And the vet put him under, which basically puts them, under anesthesia. You could operate on them, and then he administers the barbiturate, which is basically just an OD to stop his heart. And that was it. And then I've sent him off to be cremated. He's going to be in a little box, an engraved box. And up here in the carrying case that I brought him home in from the shelter back in 2011, I put his adoption paperwork. I've got the blanket that he died on. I have the shirt that I was wearing when I held him that's covered in tears and snot and his fur. That's in there along with a couple of his toys. And then when his ashes come back to me, probably the beginning of next week, that will go in there as well. And that will be Bub's own personal little tribute tomb because that's how important he was for me or to me. So as sad as everything is, I'm very, very happy that I was able to give him that ending because I was very worried that when he was sick that I would come home and he would suddenly die or I would find him dead or something like that. I really wanted me and him to kind of be together at the end. So that was my really only concern. So once I saw him going downhill, I'm like, this is the opportunity, get the guy here and, and just do what you have to do for him because a bad quality of life is not what you want for your pet. You don't want to have them suffer just because it makes you feel better. You have to do what's right for them. And Bub was still coherent. He was still trying to eat. He was still meowing. He still knew who I was. I had to put him down with all of his faculties. Unfortunately, it was just his physical, situation that had to be dealt with. He couldn't walk, and I'm not going to make him live if he can't walk. That's mean. So did what I had to do there. So I kind of knew that when that decision was going to be made that it was going to, excuse me, once that decision was made, it was going to, there was going to have an absence on the channel that would follow that. So I apologize for not being here this past week, but I do want to thank all of you guys for the amazing support. I cannot tell you the DMs from people I don't even know, people DMing me or commenting on Twitter or social or Instagram, people that I don't even know that just saw, about my pet and offered their well wishes, X-Pac, and some other people, offered kind words to me. And I thought that was really, really nice, especially from all of you who know me and know the channel, but even from the strangers, from people in the community, the Sean Ross of Saps and the OTRS Centrals and the Solid Monsters and the Brian Zanes and guys like that. I just appreciate everybody kind of reaching out and, showing love. It means a lot, but I don't want to sit here and pretend either that my situation is harder or more difficult than anybody else's because what I'm going through, we all go through. I mean, I've lost my dad. I've lost a ton of friends, some of them tragically, grandparents, lots of loved ones, family members and friends. None of them were harder than Bub, I mean, Bub was right up there with everybody in terms of the most important people in my life that I've lost. It was the hardest decision I've ever made last week is to consciously decide to end the life of the thing that I love more than anything in the world. It sucks, but it's also what you have to do. It's your responsibility as a pet owner. It's my responsibility as his dad to do the right thing. So no matter how broken up or heartbroken I am, I'm not what's important. He's what's important, and I did what I had to do there. So that is why you haven't seen me on the channel for the past week or so. I finally made my return. This past Wednesday, we watched Dynamite together where I did speak about Bub a little bit, but that was to a much smaller audience. This is the podcast audience, and I just wanted to thank all of you guys who reached out or showed support or showed love. Thank you so much for that. It means the world. You have no idea. So anyway, just wanted to open up there with a little tribute to my guy, Bub. Life goes on here. I still have Tito. He's only 9, and he'll go on to live many more years as the fat little spazzy crazy man that he is. And I love him, and he's now my number 1. He's been promoted. I keep telling him, I'm like, you've been promoted. You're the number 1 now. So it's just going to be me and him, and maybe we'll see Tito on the stream from time to time. But anyway, thank you again, everyone out there, for all of your well wishes. I think it's time to start getting into wrestling. What do you guys think? I think so. Let me cruise down here to the chat, get everybody knocked out here. I do want to say thank you to Jimmy Anderson one more time for another super chat rolling in. When you guys ring in the new year, I'm sleeping like a baby. Yeah, you probably will be sleeping like a baby way over there. And yeah, and thanks again for all of that stuff. Just wanted to give a little tribute to Bub for the podcast audience here before we start getting into wrestling news. And I think we should start with Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks, big news regarding Sasha Banks. Well, I wouldn't say very big news. A lot of this stuff we kind of already knew about and has been reported, but it's becoming clearer as we get closer here to the end of the year what exactly is going on with Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks will be appearing at the January 4th New Japan Wrestle Kingdom show. She's not going to be wrestling on that show. She's going to be appearing. My guess is that she will confront Kyrie at the end of that women's title match that she's going to have, that she's probably going to retain the title. It will set up some sort of a match there. I feel like Sasha's appearance in New Japan could be similar to kind of what Chris Jericho did when he set up a couple of matches there with Naito and Omega and whoever else he worked with. And Sasha having a championship match against Kyrie would be enormous for the company. And I'm really excited as a wrestling fan to see that, because I really like it when you see wrestlers or talent that you're accustomed to seeing in one place work somewhere else. It's always cool. It's always been that way ever since I was a kid. You know, whenever somebody would jump from the NWA to WWF, it was cool. When somebody jumped from WCW to WWF, it was cool. When somebody jumped from TNA to WWE, it was also kind of cool. And now it's really cool when it happens in AEW and WWE. So Sasha going over to New Japan is going to be awesome. No word yet on what she's going to be called. Mercedes Banks, Mercedes Bernardo, or Sasha Bernardo. Who the fuck knows what she's going to be calling herself? But it's not going to be Sasha Banks. We know that. And that's going to be interesting. Now, Sasha Banks reportedly is going to be officially done contractually with WWE come the beginning of the year. She already is done with them. She got a release apparently last June. Now, back in the summer, I believe it was June, it was Raj Giri who reported that he had heard from his sources that Sasha Banks had orchestrated and negotiated a release with WWE, and she was officially gone. And he got taken to task. He got, just trolled and attacked and abused by crazy fans for whatever reason, found this news to be offensive. Then, of course, you have that ugly side of social media that has a big, jagged, thorny stick up their ass about certain wrestling journalists because, of course, they give a shit about journalistic integrity, right? Bullshit. No, they don't. They've already decided who they've hated and who they've liked, and now they create bullshit reasons not to like these people. So the ones who don't like Raj got all up his ass. And I'm like, Raj has been doing this for a long time. I mean, Raj has been at this since the 90s. He has his sources. He's been reliable in the past. And because of his reputation and how long he's been doing it, he's not really the guy. He's not Zero News or whatever he's not Brad Shepard or some moron like that. This is a guy that actually knows shit, gets shit right, has reported on stuff before, and just doesn't put anything out there for clicks and views. That's not what he does. If he heard this from a credible source, then all he's doing is reporting what his sources told him. And these were reliable sources in the past. He even came out and said, look, if this turns out that this was all bullshit, then I will never use this source again. But the anger over this post was really bizarre to me. I just read the post. I'm like, look at that. Looks like she negotiated her release. We don't know if that's completely true or not, but I have no reason to immediately doubt Raj. Like, I'm not just immediately going to, say and just reject it for no particular reason. I'm like, certainly there's a reason why he reported this. Whoever he heard it from was reliable enough for him to feel the need to report it. So I never really had an issue with it. I never really did question whether or not that was true. And it turns out that it was. She renegotiated a release back in June that apparently would release her from the company as a free agent, but would prevent her from doing anything wrestling related until the beginning of the year, which also is lends evidence to the Fightful article that had mentioned that they were told that Sasha wouldn't be able to do any wrestling bookings until January 1st. So there was some evidence out there that this was true. So apparently what happened is this negotiated release did take place this summer, and Sasha got what she wanted with the provision that she can't do anything wrestling related until June. But then Vince McMahon stepped down. Once Vince McMahon stepped down, Triple H I think, tried to start negotiations back up with Sasha Banks, even when Triple H did that interview, I believe, with Ariel Helwani right after Vince left. I believe he was asked about Sasha Banks, and he said, he goes, I'm hoping that we can work something out. So maybe conversations kind of picked back up, but apparently the two sides were very, very far apart on money. Sasha was seeking Charlotte and Becky Lynch money, and according to the reports, WWE didn't believe she was worth anywhere near that, which is weird to me. That's a pretty bold statement. Anywhere near that? It's okay to say we don't feel like you're worth their money, but not worth anywhere near their money? As long as Sasha's been there, I mean, she definitely has crossover appeal. She is a star in a lot of ways. She's had a lot of good runs there. She is one of the 4 horsewomen. But at the same time, when you look at the roster now, if she were to stay in WWE, where would she really rank on the roster in terms of all the other competitors and contenders that they have there? I mean, they got Rhea Ripley on the map. Bianca Belair is your champion, a dominant champion. You still have Charlotte there. You still have Becky there. Ronda is there. You've got a lot of women already on that roster. Where would Sasha really rank among those women? Bayley, don't forget. Where would Sasha be in that 6, 7, 8 spot? You know, so maybe with Sasha, as she has said as much, even recently on Broken Skull Sessions, this is a woman that knows her value, or knows what she wants to be valued as, and knows the money she wants to be paid. And if she's not going to get that, she can look around for other options. That's what's great about having competition in wrestling, is that when you have opportunities for people to perhaps go elsewhere, make more money, do different things, if those opportunities arise, it's nice to know that they're not just stuck in one company forever for their entire lives. So if Sasha saw the writing on the wall there, like, hey, even if I sign and I re-sign with this company, I'm already going to be 6th, 7th, 8th top star in the company. Plus, I have the stigma of walking out twice. Twice she walked out. I don't think I really supported the first time, whatever was going on, that crybaby situation after WrestleMania. Granted, I thought Sasha and Bayley should not have lost the tag team titles, but I didn't think it was really worth quitting over, even though I thought it was fucking dumb. So I kind of thought she was being a baby in that situation based on what we heard or read at the time. But the second time around, when her and Naomi walked out back in May, I was in full support of that, still am. I thought with Vince there and with everything going on with that company and how just bland and terrible and meaningless their TV and their storylines and everything that they were doing was, I'm glad that a talent finally got fed up and said, no, this is stupid. I'm not doing this. Fuck you. I'm out of here. That needed to happen to WWE. I feel like somebody needed to do that, and Sasha was the one to do it. So even though I can understand, and I supported a talent's decision to stand up to stupid booking and stupid creative, that's not going to have, take you seriously or have any respect for you. So why are you going to go out there and risk your body and put your body on the line for just meaningless storylines that were written, torn up, and then rewritten, all before lunch? Oh, this is what we're doing now. I'm like, no, fuck this. So I'm fine with that. But also from WWE's perspective, you have to look at it from their point of view. Looking at Sasha Banks, this idea that we read that WWE feels like she's peaked or whatever, that's bullshit. That's clearly wrong, because she hasn't peaked. She's going and getting the desired money from somewhere else. Someone else is willing to pay her the money that you're not willing to pay her. So this feels like WWE probably having a little bit of an issue with her, and I don't blame them. From their perspective, you're talking about a talent that walked out on you twice. As a fan, I'm perfectly fine with one of those times she walked out. I don't blame her at all. But from WWE's standpoint, they're probably going to look at that as perhaps a reliability issue. What happens if she gets frustrated again? Do we have to worry about tap dancing or walking around eggshells around this girl, giving her creative ideas? And if we book her to lose, is she going to get pissed and walk out? Is this money and time that we want to spend on somebody that clearly has aspirations to do things outside of WWE? Because that's what WWE wants. They want to completely control everything they can about someone. Even with Vince gone and Triple H in charge, there still is that WWE way of doing things, and they want you to be completely, your entire life, signed away to the company. And if they want to build Sasha Banks and they want to pay Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Becky money, I think they are going to expect Sasha Banks to be a WWE lifer like the two of them likely are going to be. But since Sasha has already had a couple of hiccups with the company, she's walked out twice, and the SummerSlam that I attended a year and a half ago in Vegas, she was supposed to wrestle Bianca Belair that night, and she was replaced last minute, and nobody really ever knew why. So a lot of that has to be taken into consideration when you're looking at things from WWE's perspective. And from WWE's perspective and Sasha's perspective, I think they should both say, you know what, fuck you, goodbye, peace. I think they are both well within their rights to not want anything to do with the other, at least right now. In the future, Sasha could always come back. A lot of people think she could still make a Rumble appearance. Maybe she could. Maybe she could come back in and do something for Mania. I suppose maybe she could. But she could also bounce around a little bit, do some stuff with New Japan, potentially win their championship. I wouldn't be surprised at all. If she's going to have a championship match against Kairi, she's probably going to win the title, right? I think New Japan would love to have Sasha's name in their title history. You know, just like AEW, you know, when I said when you create a new title, you want to have big names, recognizable names in your title lineage, in your history, especially early, you know, to establish that title. And I think that's what AEW was attempting to do with Chris Jericho, CM Punk, Jon Moxley, at first, while sprinkling in MJF, Kenny, and Hangman title runs in there too. And I think with New Japan, having Sasha as their champion would be huge for them, and it would be huge for her. And it would increase her stock, increase her interest. Tony Khan doesn't seem like a guy that minds spending some money. So if she wants a specific amount of money for a specific amount of dates or a per date thing, and she tells Tony Khan this, he seems like the type of guy that'd be willing to shell that out more than WWE. So I would love to see Sasha not only work New Japan, win their championship, come in and do a couple of shots for AEW, perhaps even work somewhere else if she wants to go do something at AAA. I don't think they can afford her, but maybe something like that. And then who knows? A year goes by, she does some stuff, has some fun out there, does a couple more movie projects or whatever, and maybe she can come back in to WWE with a fresh start, fresh attitude, everything's water under the bridge, or she could maybe sign a long-term deal with AEW that will allow her to do those outside interests. I thought if Sasha Banks had interest outside of WWE, WWE would actually be a better spot for her because they're an excellent bridge between entertainment. They've gotten a lot of wrestlers in movie roles and had their own movies. They had their own studio and production company for a while there. So WWE is already a great bridge. You know, we've seen Sasha at the ESPYs and doing a lot of things. So I thought if Sasha had, much like Cody, had big desires to be a megastar, I kind of thought that WWE might be the better environment for her. But with all this talk of her now going to, New Japan and the Wrestle Kingdom appearance, I'm excited to see what else she can do out there. And as a fan, you know, if you stand firmly on one side of this, if you think Sasha is an idiot for leaving WWE, if you're one of those people, well, what do you think she would do there if she stayed? I can't believe Sasha would leave WWE for AEW or New Japan. I'm like, why can't you believe that? Why is that hard to believe? It's money. WWE did not want to pay Sasha what she was asking. Somebody else did. Explain to me why that's weird to you. And on top of that, even if she did stay in WWE, like I mentioned earlier, what would she do? Who would she work with? It would probably just be the status quo. You know, she'd be right back to kind of doing what she was doing, random feuds. She'd win a championship only to lose it in her first title defense like she's done like 7 or 8 times or whatever it is. So even if she stayed, what would she do? I'm sure when she first got there, it would be a big deal. Holy shit, Sasha is back. But after that, then what? Wouldn't you think that she would just be back to doing largely what she was doing in previous years, which is still something, but not. She's not going to be main eventing WrestleMania. She's already done that, don't forget. So I think maybe in WWE's mind, Sasha has peaked for them. Maybe she's not going to get any higher than that WrestleMania main event with Bianca. Maybe Sasha realizes that too. I'm not going to get any higher than that in this company, at least right now, so I'm going to go and do something else. Maybe I'll come back. Sasha's still very young. Never say never. Everybody comes back to the WWE at some point, and Sasha leaving now, I do not believe for a minute means that she's going to be gone from the WWE for the rest of her life. I fully expect her to make her way back there at some point in her life and career. Just feels like it's inevitable. But until then, I think it's going to be really fun to see what Sasha does. So I'm looking forward to Wrestle Kingdom and seeing exactly, her in that setting and how big of a deal they're going to make of her being there, if they're going to have her up in a private box or if she's just not going to be there at all and she's just going to show up at the end of that match, because I'm pretty sure neither Sasha nor New Japan has confirmed anything in terms of her appearance. This is just what's been reported and speculated, and plus Sasha apparently is physically in Japan right now, and all of that is apparently going to lead to her appearance there, but nothing has really been made official, so they should treat it like the CM Punk situation in AEW. They never really announced it, but everybody knew he was going to be there, and maybe they should set up Wrestle Kingdom the same way. I don't know, but should be interesting to see what Sasha Banks winds up doing down the road, and especially come January 4th at Wrestle Kingdom. We're going to get into the latest on Mandy Rose next. Let me see what Chaz has to say. Happy holidays to you, my friend, and thank you for that. Same to you, Mike Witt. Glad you're back. Mike Witt got accidentally blocked somehow. He was trying to comment on Wednesday, and then you sent me a DM on Twitter. I'm like, bro, why am I blocked? I'm like, you're not blocked. And then I went to your channel, and you're blocked. I have no idea how that happened. I did not do it. So you are unblocked now, Mike Witt. I would never block a family member. Come on now. Come on now. Maybe my conservative stepdad. I'm just kidding. I would never block a family member. You're always welcome here, Mike. Anyway, let's move on to Mandy Rose. As you guys smash that thumbs up button a couple of times for me, I'd really appreciate it. Let's talk about Mandy Rose. Now, the last time you guys heard from me prior to my bub hiatus there, my last video was on the Mandy Rose release and situation, because that was quite the shock after she lost the title to Roxanne Perez on a match that was booked early ahead of the New Year's Evil show or whatever. That is that this week? Whenever that is. And they went ahead and booked the match early, ran an angle that had the match happen on NXT TV. Mandy Rose lost. Roxanne Perez won the title, and then the next day we hear that Mandy Rose was released. And of course, it became known that the reason for her release was due to the content and the nature of the content on her fan time page, which apparently is similar to an OnlyFans. I wasn't even aware she was doing this, but apparently she was doing it for a while, and a lot of the content on that paid subscription service was incredibly racy. I still have not seen anything. I don't know what she was doing, but, apparently it was treading on the softcore porn line, apparently. So that is probably in violation with her WWE contract because of advertisers and image and publicity and things like that. And this was known by her. She had expressed concern and understanding that what she's doing here could cause her problems with her WWE contract, but she continued to do it anyway. And the reason she continued to do it anyway is because she was making stupid, fall down, pass out, pants shitting crazy money doing this. Like insane money, 100 times more than what her WWE NXT contract was paying her, maybe even more than that. And so you can understand why she chose to take this risk. Now, how everything was handled was a little odd. She was released rather abruptly. We still don't know, I should say, if they had a conversation with her. I speculated in my Mandy Rose video that if they said, hey, look, you got two choices. You can either take down your fan time page, or we have to let you go. And then she compares the $2 amounts and says, well, I guess that's goodbye, because look how much money I made last month from fan time. Look how much money you guys are paying me. Of course, I'm going to pick that. So maybe that conversation did happen. We don't know. And if it did, and she was given a choice, then obviously she made the right choice for herself. Now, if they didn't give her that option, because word has now come out since her release and since I did that video that apparently it was Matt Bloom, Albert, was the guy that narked on her to Shawn Michaels and informed Shawn Michaels about some of the content on her fan time page. And that's when Shawn made the decision to take the belt off of her right away. And then she was released the very next day. So A lot of people have been outraged by this. I even mentioned in my Mandy Rose video that WWE should stop being fucking dorks and all of that. But that was kind of before I was of the understanding how racy and sexual some of this content was. Because a lot of people are on OnlyFans, and sometimes it's just, I don't know, what, bikini pictures or half a nipple or something. I don't know. But this was way more, whatever she was doing there. And you have to think about WWE, who is a kid-friendly company, and one of their biggest advertisers is Mattel, the biggest toy company in the world, who makes and produces a lot of their toys and rings and shit like that. And when you have threats from your advertisers, that's what it's all about to WWE. It's all about the bottom line. It's all about dollars. And if one of their talent, who's making a shit ton of money that they're not seeing a dime of, by the way, which I know probably annoys them too, if they're watching somebody else make a great living, and that great living that they're making on the side, their side hustle, is also potentially costing WWE advertisers, you can't blame WWE for letting her go. You can't blame them for that. So even though in a perfect world, since her gimmick was to be extremely overly sexual with Toxic Attraction, it fits right into what she does. You know, even with all of that, I understand that if you're in breach of contract, you're in breach of contract. There's really no way around that. The contract is there. It's written down. She signed it. If there's language in there that is going to make what she does on Fan Time a violation, there is no argument against it. You have no argument as a fan. It's fucking bullshit. It's right there in the contract. So we don't know exactly if it was a contract breach or if she was given the decision. I don't know. I would hope, based on her work in the company, how well she was doing, how much time and energy they were putting into her and investing in her, that a conversation did take place. You would hope in a company as big as WWE that they would have at least pulled her aside and let her know the deal. Hey, we're going to let you go unless, or we're going to let you go. We have no choice. But either way, it doesn't sound like Mandy Rose, like I said, is going to be reaching in the trash for a half-eaten Happy Meal to get by. This woman is making stupid money. Word is she has made $500,000 since her WWE release. What was that, 11 days ago or whatever it was? Jesus, man. So she's making ridiculous money. Lana, or CJ Perry, reportedly made more money in her year on OnlyFans than she ever made in WWE as well. So this is a huge source of income. And it's interesting that something like this is now a factor in modern times. This is nothing that, you know, you would have had to worry about back in the day with Sunny and Sable and some of the other women. And now, you know, with these OnlyFans and Fan Time pages, you can make big money on the side. And it's going to be another one of those things that WWE is probably going to be, you know, jerk-offs about, and they're going to want very little of this to be allowed. As a matter of fact, it should be noted here that Chelsea Green has reportedly taken down her OnlyFans account as well in anticipation for her WWE return. There's been a lot of talk about Chelsea and Zack Ryder coming back to the company, and with Chelsea taking down her OnlyFans makes it sound like she could be heading back there too. But it's interesting that we're living in a world now where this type of money can be made on the side, and this, you know, could pose problems for certain wrestling contracts, particularly in WWE. Now, with Tony Khan, I'm trying to think of what his take on this would be, because he's not, he's not in that same situation as WWE, and he seems to be way more lenient with this type of stuff. He seems to be fine with fans making money on the side, or wrestlers, making money on the side with, you know, OnlyFans and whatnot, but I'm not sure how he would feel, you know, if one of his top female stars was doing that. I don't know. He might be totally cool with it. Part of me thinks he would be cool with it. He'd be like, I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want to do. I don't fucking care. But then if Tony Khan is threatened by advertisers or something like that, then he might have to deal with that on a case-by-case basis. But I think overall, he would have a much more lax attitude about this, where WWE's a lot more corporate-minded and stuff like that. So I don't know how Tony Khan would feel about that, but if he has no problem with it, it would be great for them to bring her in as well, and Mandy could go to AEW. I don't know what her name would be there, but maybe she could go over there and make appearances there. But apparently it was enough to make WWE cut ties with her completely, to where they don't even care if she goes to AEW. But like I said, Mandy Rose might not even be interested in wrestling. This might be the end of wrestling for her for a little while. She might just concentrate on that. And I got to tell you, if I was making $500,000 every 2 weeks sitting on my bed sucking on a lollipop, I'd do it. Would you guys pay? Would you guys subscribe to a Greg Fan Time page? A little cowboy hat, shirtless, a little vegetable oil on my chest, lollipop? You know you would. You know you would. But anyway, best of luck to Mandy Rose. Seriously, I'm glad that she's making a killing doing this. I'm just glad that people can sit at home on their computer screens and make money. You know, I do a little bit of that with investing and stuff, but I can't make $500,000 in 2 weeks like people like Mandy Rose can. And I'm half jealous, but I also am I think that's awesome. I just think that's great. So best of luck to her wherever she goes or whatever she does from here. If she can just continues on with her fan stuff, you know, but you got to think too, a lot of the subscriptions she was getting from the Fan Time page also came in large part due to her exposure on WWE TV. So if that exposure goes away, will she still maintain that type of revenue from Fan Time? It sounds like even if it goes down, she's still making a ton. I mean, even if this went down by 80%, she's still making $100,000 a week or something like that. So I think that at the end of the day, she could see a dip in time of her subscriptions due to her lack of TV exposure, but she could also pick that TV exposure back up by signing with an AEW or whatever. Or perhaps letting the Fan Time page run its course. Maybe she does that another year, sucks all the money she can out of that, and then closes it down and then returns to WWE. But I don't even know if they'd be able to bring her in after that. Even if the Fan Time page got shut down, she's still someone that did that. So would that be a deal breaker for WWE? I don't know. I have no idea. But me personally, I have no issue with Mandy Rose doing that. I don't fucking care. I understand from WWE's perspective, advertisers, I get all of that. But in terms of from a moral standpoint, no, I don't give a shit. She could stick an English cucumber up her butt on her Fan Time page. I don't care. It won't make me think any more or less of her as a performer. But I can understand from WWE's standpoint and advertisers why that could be a problem for them. So much like the Sasha Banks situation with WWE, with Mandy, it's the same thing. I can really see both sides. I can understand Sasha's viewpoint and WWE's viewpoint in that situation. I can understand Sasha wanting to leave, and I can understand WWE not wanting to pay her. Mandy Rose, I can understand, her not wanting to give that up, and I can also understand WWE not being able to employ someone who's doing that type of shit. I get it, man. I get it. So best of luck, I suppose, to all parties involved there. Speaking of more turmoil with WWE, let's talk about Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle was written off TV a couple of weeks ago on Raw when he was attacked by Solo Sikoa. And Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net, shout out to Cassidy, friend of ours, who reported that Matt Riddle had actually failed a drug test and was going to rehab. So that apparently was the reason for his suspension. Now, WWE has not officially announced this. They haven't officially announced anything serious in a while. I don't remember the last time they officially announced anyone's release or any sort of wellness policy suspension or violation. It's been a while since they've done that. So I don't think anything official has come from them regarding Riddle, but it certainly did not appear to be an injury that he was written off for. This has to do with some sort of a wellness violation. Now, he's got all sorts of shit going on. Now Riddle, I'm a big fan of Riddle. I like his gimmick. I kind of like the stoner gimmick and the goofiness. He's definitely different. I also like that he's kind of a badass while being a silly motherfucker at the same time. I've been critical of his silliness being maybe a little bit too over the top. If he could scale it back. Kurt Angle and Rob Van Dam had a silliness factor to them, but they were also badasses at the same time. And I always thought that if Riddle could find that balance of Kurt Angle where he could be goofy but feared, that's the sweet spot. And I wasn't sure if Riddle really ever got there, but he started to make a lot of progress with the pairing with Randy Orton. That was a lot of fun, showing signs that this guy could potentially be WWE champion, main event of WrestleMania, provided he just doesn't do a shit ton of drugs, which apparently is what he does. It sounds like he has his fun. He parties, he drinks, he does drugs, he has sex with many sexual partners of various shapes, sizes, and genders. He has his fun, and he does what he does, and that's perfectly fine. However, the drugs is kind of where I don't have any fucking sympathy for him. I mean, this guy has already been given some leeway. I think Riddle might have been a big reason why WWE really doesn't test or fine for marijuana anymore, because they probably realized, hey, we're going to lose the chance to get a lot of great talent if we don't start letting these guys smoke some weed. And it's a hell of a lot safer than somas and pills and narcotics and booze and everything else, right? So where I have no sympathy for Riddle, I'm like, if you're working at a place that's allowing you to drink and smoke weed, it would be so easy for me to not get in trouble. I mean, first of all, I don't really drink a lot to begin with. But if you're already working at a place that will allow you to drink, provided you don't show up to work drunk or work drunk, but drinking alcohol is not forbidden or against WWE policy. They're even going to let you smoke some weed. You know, if you can't not do some cocaine, you know, and that's just crazy. If that's too much pressure for you, you know, if you can't stay away from that type of hard drugs when you're already allowed just to be high all the time, I don't really have any sympathy for you, man. And it's Matt Riddle's wild lifestyle. He's young, he's good looking, and he's out there having fun and just doing his thing, so to speak, right? But it's also causing him to make some poor decisions and getting involved in a lifestyle and that's not good for his WWE career. Let's just put it that way. And he's also been busy with a lot of women. Now, apparently adult film star Jordan, I don't know if it's Jordan Max or Jordan Marks, Jordan Max, I believe. She took to Twitter to express disappointment that Riddle was with her, apparently told her he loved her, and was then seen kissing another adult film star named Misha Montana. I love porn star names. They're the best. Another adult film star named Misha Montana, and going to rehab instead of Christmas and New Year's plans. So apparently he was dating Jordan Max. They were together. She claims that he told her he loved her. Listen to me. It's like I'm talking about the fucking Jersey Shore here or something. And professes his love to her. And then he was seen making out with another woman who's in the same industry as her. And then he cancels his New Year's and Christmas plans with Jordan to go to rehab instead. And she said that's all very hurtful to her. And she adds later on that she wishes him well in his rehab, but doesn't say, okay, I'm trying to read my own writing here. She goes on to add that she wishes him well in rehab, but what she's upset about is that he told her that he was going to quit the drugs, and then come to find out he's been doing all these drugs with somebody else and now going into rehab. So he has some women upset with him. Also, to thicken the plot, another woman by the name of Daniela Petro, who was also dating Riddle right after his divorce, posted a short YouTube video basically calling him an abusive piece of shit. A couple of videos and some footage and pictures of Riddle with her in various settings where she calls him a piece of shit or accuses him of abuse or whatever. So he's got a couple of women mad at him, and one woman he apparently is currently with. I don't know if finding dating or, you know, partners in the adult film universe and industry is really a good way to lay low and kind of just do your job and not live too wild. I think he's in a very crazy environment and lifestyle here, and he's finding himself in trouble with WWE, potentially in the long run going to cost him millions of dollars if he doesn't straighten his shit out here. And he's trying to, because Riddle did post on Twitter yesterday, and I quote, "I've been working a lot on myself lately and have been saying no and setting boundaries for the first time ever, and certain people aren't happy about it. But I couldn't be healthier or happier." And there's a picture of him. Looks to be out to dinner, and I don't know who he's with. Whoever that woman is with, it must be Misha Marks. No, wait, what's her name? It must be Misha. What the fuck's her name? Misha Montana. That must have been her in the photo, right? It didn't say who it was in the photo, but Jordan Max and Daniela Petro are pissed at him, and apparently he's currently with Misha Montana. I don't even know if I have that right. All I know is that's way too complex, and there's way too much going on there in Riddle's life, and I'm really hoping that he's getting his shit together here. That was a very optimistic post, gave me hope that he's trying to, better himself and find himself at peace. And as someone who's seen a lot of these wrestlers enter rehab, and one thing does seem to be constant with a lot of people that try to clean themselves up at first. A lot of times when it first starts happening, they really do seem to be enthusiastic. They really do seem to be all in. I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to be changing. I feel great. This is amazing. But a lot of times that wears off and they revert back to their drug-using ways. We've seen it way too many times with Jeff Hardy and others, people who try to get clean. It feels like they've made it, and then something pulls them back. They fall off the wagon or whatever. And I just hope that with all of these, positive posts that Riddle is making right now, that they stick. I hope he has the same mindset 6 weeks from now that he has right now. If he's really trying to set these boundaries, be a better person, live a better life, live a healthier life, live a happier life, and try to get past some of these issues that he might have mentally and personally, apparently, because he's had some issues. He's had some accusations, of course, the Candy Cartwright situation and that whole thing, and his divorce, his life, his private life. Some of his private life has been made public. Some of it wasn't his fault. Some of it was, but he sounds like a guy who's just living wild. And that's fine if that's the way you want to live, but it's hard to do that when you're a contracted WWE star on television every week. If you're just an everyday average Joe with a great body, who can go out and have fun and got a little bit of money and go out and have fun, that's one thing, is you have nobody to answer to. But you are a celebrity, you're on TV, and you have a job to do. And by living this life, he's potentially costing himself so much money, because I think WWE's been really tolerant of Matt with the weed smoking and the behavioral shit and some of the attitude stuff and problems and issues he's had behind the scenes, some of it with other wrestlers like Goldberg and Seth Rollins and guys like that. So he's had some issues behind the scenes, and I think overall WWE's still using him, featuring him, and seeing promise and potential in him. He owes them, a lot. He should be grateful that they're willing to put up with his bullshit. And when he continues to fuck up, it just makes you wonder if somebody like that really deserves it. You know what I mean? So as a big Riddle fan, as somebody who wants to see him succeed and wants to see him win singles gold and potentially even be a world champion one day, I truly hope that he gets his act together here, because I like Riddle. He's great on TV. He's hilarious. I hope Randy Orton comes back and they can pay off that someday. And I hope Riddle can see success in WWE, but he's not going to see that success unless all of the shit in his life is cleaned up and he lives a little bit more focused life and just a little bit less wild. But that's the type of stuff that just comes with young people who are just living wild. It just happens, Eventually he'll get to the point in his life where he's not going to want to be living that way. Hopefully he will meet somebody else and settle down, but he doesn't, just based on this information here, he doesn't really sound like somebody who settles down. He doesn't seem like anybody who has any interest in doing that right now. He's out there, he's having his fun, and that's fine and everything, provided you play within the rules. And the rules with your WWE contract is you can't do fucking drugs. So stop, Matt Riddle. Knock that shit off. And best of luck to you in your rehab and your recovery and your mental health. Best of luck. What about Miro? Holy shit, we got more. We got more turmoil, dissension in the world of wrestling. This relates to AEW and Miro, who has been absent from TV for much of this year. I believe he's only had 4 matches in 2022. I think that's right. He last wrestled, a 6-man at All Out, and hasn't been seen since. Now, there was some word that he balked at some creative plans for him at Full Gear. They pitched something for him to appear there, and he didn't want to do it. Speculation is that whatever they pitched for him meant that he was going to lose, so he opted not to accept the creative plans, which Tony Khan, I guess, allows guys the option to do things if they don't want to do it. Now, what's complicating this situation is that we have seen and hints of Miro's frustration. He's tweeted a couple of things that basically all but confirmed he's a little bit annoyed with not being used on TV. And then you add this Full Gear news, and then his wife, Lana, or CJ Perry, goes on record by saying that she believes Rusev Day will make a return to WWE because everybody goes back to WWE one day. So that's not helping. And so, now you find yourself in a situation where it's not as cut and dry as AEW is just not using him, because I've seen a lot of that. Oh my God, they're having Darius Martin in a match on TV before Rusev. It's not that. It's not that they're looking at the roster and picking him over Miro. It's the fact that what it could be here is that if it's implied, or if there's the implication that Miro is going to be leaving AEW. Now, I thought he re-upped with them last year or whatever. So I thought Miro signed a 1-year deal and then signed on for more years for more money. That's what I thought. I don't recall what those numbers were, but I thought we heard that story like earlier this year or last year. And if that's the case, he's got some time left on his deal. He's not going anywhere. But if he just signed a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal or something like that, maybe he does have his contract at least visible, in the future. It's not so far off in the distance that it's never going to come. He sees it coming soon, and maybe it's soon enough where in his head, he's already made the decision he's going back to WWE. Now, I didn't think he wanted anything to do with WWE based on how he was treated there, but of course, Vince McMahon stepping down changes a lot of things for a lot of people. So if Miro is somehow giving off the vibe or the implication to his boss that he, number one, doesn't want to be there, and number two, is going to leave when his contract is up, I wouldn't book him either. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm not booking someone that I know is going to leave. Now, we know that AEW has found themselves in a situation where some of the talent has wanted to back out of their deals and go back to WWE now that Triple H is in charge. We definitely know people like that exist, and one of those people may have actually been Miro, who now could actually be used somewhat well in WWE. They could bring Lana back in and redo that whole thing, maybe give Rusev Day a legitimate shot this time, because Rusev Day got over on its own to the besmirchment of Vince McMahon. Is besmirchment a word? It is now. To the besmirchment of Vince McMahon, who did not approve this getting over and never gave Rusev Day a chance and didn't give a shit about it because he's Vince McMahon. So now Lana probably sees the opportunity for money to get back over to WWE, market the fuck out of Rusev Day, sell 10 trillion of those t-shirts, and make it a big deal. She probably sees dollar signs in that, just as many dollar signs as her booty is getting her on her OnlyFans page. So if Tony Khan is getting that vibe from Miro, how can you blame him for not featuring him on TV? I want to see Miro on TV. I think Miro in AEW is fantastic. Everything he's done in AEW after that arcade bullshit has been gold. His run with the TNT title was fantastic. They probably should not have had Sammy Guevara beat him for it, looking back. I remember being shocked the night that Sammy beat him. I predicted Miro to win. But even after Sammy won, I'm like, okay, the way it was pulled off, I liked that, because they were able to bounce back with Miro with that Redeemer story. I'm like, see, they were able to take that loss, and he was able to keep his momentum going and just shift direction. And I thought that was great. But then everything just kind of crumbled and went away, and then Miro just kind of became absent, and I never really understood why, because he's an amazing performer. He's a great wrestler. He's got great comedic timing. He's an entertaining guy. I'm sports entertained when Miro or Rusev is out there in a AEW or WWE ring doing anything. So the fact that he's not being used, yes, is criminally fucked up, but from the standpoint of a booker like Tony Khan, if this is a guy who doesn't want to be here, I'm booking people who do want to be here. I'm booking and featuring the talent that I know is going to be with me for a while, that has no plans on leaving or doesn't want to leave or isn't caught up in this Triple H, Vince McMahon bullshit and wants to get out. I'm going to be pushing and featuring the talent that I feel is the most loyal to me. Vince McMahon did the same thing, back in the day when he ran WWF, when he had WCW breathing down his throat. This is nothing new. This is nothing different. So here we go again with good old 50-50 booking Greg. Not only did I see both sides of the story in Sasha in WWE and Mandy in WWE, I can see both sides of this coin with Miro and AEW. I understand Miro's frustration, and I understand Tony Khan not wanting to use him if he feels like he's going to bounce out of there and go to the WWE. Why feature a guy and build him up just for another promotion to use everything that you've built? I get it. I totally get it. So I'm not faulting anyone here. I just hope that Miro and AEW can come back together to where there's an understanding. Miro says, I want to be here. And Tony Khan says, good, I want to use you. then I'm all in on whatever they do with Miro, because I think Miro is not only a TNT contender, he is an AEW world title contender and should be, because he's just too talented and entertaining not to be. So if they're not going to do anything with him, then we'll just as fans sit and wait for his contract to run out. He can go back to WWE and Rusev Day will live again. What I feel good about as a fan, I feel like one of those two scenarios are very likely. We're either going to see him on AEW again or we're not. And if we're not, that means we're going to probably see him back in WWE sometime between now and 2025. So we'll see what the plans will be for Miro going forward, but it sure would be nice to see that guy turn back up on Dynamite one of these days. Speaking of more frustration in AEW, what about FTR? FTR, another team that feels like could be on their way out and also potentially back to WWE. This is the team who was getting their backs shaved in a shower and used like idiots, somehow wants to go back there. But again, maybe the grass seemed greener in AEW, but even FTR has had their share of frustrations in the company. They have been on a tear, doing great things, establishing them and reinforcing themselves as definitely one of the top two tag teams in the world with everything that they've been doing, with all the championships belts they've been winning in various promotions and how far they've been traveling. They're even booked, I believe, for Wrestle Kingdom as well, right? But you also look at what they've been doing recently in AEW. They lost the Ring of Honor tag team titles in that crazy double dog collar match at Final Battle. And then on Dynamite, they took a loss to the Ass Boys this past week as well. They are also set to defend the IWGP tag team titles at Wrestle Kingdom, I think against Yoshihashi and Goto. And then they're probably going to defend and potentially drop the AAA tags sometime in early 2023. So if they go through and start losing all these championship belts and their contracts are coming up, they might want to go back to WWE. I mean, can you imagine FTR and the Usos, or the Revival and the Usos? Holy shit. Seeing that again now after they've been gone for a couple of years, coming back and revisiting everything without the back shaving could be a lot of fun. Also, Dax Harwood has been busy too. He was the final guest on the Gentleman's Villain podcast, and he talked a lot about CM Punk. He talked a lot about Cody Rhodes, said that he hopes to wrestle Cody Rhodes very soon. So when he says, I hope to wrestle Cody Rhodes very soon, I'm trying to think, where does Cody work? Cody Rhodes works in not WWF, but WWE. That's right. So Cody works in WWE. Dax Harwood works in AEW. So in order for that match to happen, if I do the math, if Dax thinks he's going to work with Cody soon, that means Cody either has to come to AEW or Dax has to go to WWE. Let me know if that math checks out to you guys. It sounds like Dax is making it sound like he's going to be in WWE soon to work with Cody. So that's interesting. Also talks about CM Punk, speaks very highly of him, says that he's misunderstood. He believes in being controversial because that's how you make the most waves and get the most exposure and make the most money. Sounds like Dax is trying to feed into that a little bit here by saying some of these controversial things. And apparently he is going to be a part of a new podcast. Dax Harwood is going to have his own podcast here. I can't remember. I think Matt Kuhn is going to be a part of this. And it's going to be starting very soon, I think in 2023. And one of the very first topics that they're going to discuss on Dax's podcast is going to be CM Punk. Now, Punk is not going to be a guest. A lot of people were reporting that Punk was going to be a guest on this podcast. I don't think it's going to be a revisit of what Punk did on Colt Cabana, where on Colt Cabana's podcast in 2014, where he aired his grievances about WWE. I don't think he's going to be appearing on Dax's podcast to do that. I think the topic is going to be CM Punk, where they're going to discuss his career. And eventually, they're probably going to have to at least mention something about Brawl Out and what happened there. But he might also not be able to mention too much. But if he leaves if he leaves AEW and he's free and clear and he's a free agent to do and say whatever he wants, who's going to stop him from talking about the situation on his podcast? So it sounds like when you look at the writing on the wall here with the recent championship losses and the TV losses and the potential loss coming up here on the 4th at Wrestle Kingdom and dropping hints about leaving WWE, posting pictures with CM Punk on social media. I keep saying WWE when I mean AEW. Hinting that he's going to leave, or they're going to leave AEW, and posting pictures with CM Punk. It sounds like FTR could be on their way out. But if Dax already promotes and brands his podcast as a Dax Harwood pod, or whatever the hell the podcast is called, I can't remember. If they go back to WWE, is going to go back to being his WWE name, his revival name. What were they? Dash Wheeler and what were they? I forgot what the fuck their names even were in WWE. Is he going to go back to that name if they go back to WWE? And with FTR, again, I'm happy either way. If they stay in AEW, I think that's where they should be, because I think they're the best tag team there, and they've been doing great going around working and winning all these tag team championship belts, but they have done a lot in a short amount of time. So when you look at it from that perspective, from a professional standpoint, they could say to themselves, hey, in this last 2 years, we actually did everything we wanted to do. We wrestled in Japan. We wrestled in Mexico. We wrestled all over the United States. We won multiple tag team championship belts in all the promotions available out there. I don't think they did. They win the Impact tags? I don't think they did. Maybe those belts eluded them. But all in all, what they set out to do, I think largely they did, including wrestling on the biggest stage in Japan. So you could look at it from their standpoint saying, hey, we left WWE and did what we wanted to do. We can come back now. We're satisfied. We got our fill. So now we can go back to WWE with no regrets, or without this feeling of there's unresolved things in our careers that we wanted to do, or things we haven't done yet, that sort of stuff. So I can understand from a professional standpoint, and that from that, professional satisfaction standpoint, WWE looking attractive to them again now that they've been around and won all these championship belts, because if they don't go back, all they're going to do is stay here and keep doing that. So I think the next step for them is either go to WWE or stay in AEW and regain the tag team championships and beat the Acclaimed for them at some point. So we'll keep our eye on FTR, just like we'll keep our eye on Miro and Sasha Banks and Mandy, and where they might turn up in the future. 2023, I think, is going to be an interesting year for a lot of reasons. Another reason it's going to be interesting is because AEW is continuing to grow. They have made a major backstage internal hire by picking up Michael Mansouri. Now, he is the former vice president of global television production for WWE, who left WWE in 2020 right before the pandemic, and he was there since 2009. So he apparently was the guy kind of penciled in. If Kevin Dunn, I believe, was ever going to have a replacement in the company, he was the guy that was kind of pegged for that, if I remember correctly. So when he left in 2020, that was a major loss for WWE. He was a guest on Renee Paquette's Sessions podcast, where he said they even offered him an opportunity to come back, and he declined just because he felt that if he didn't do it, he never would. The travel and the schedule and everything was just brutal, and he was ready for a new challenge and professional challenge in his life, and that's why he left WWE in 2020. Well, he has been recently hired by AEW as Senior Vice President and Co-Executive Producer. And this is huge for them, because I think he brings a lot of that TV executive knowledge, although there's also a scary side of that. He's also bringing 11 years of WWE production knowledge into AEW. And what we don't want to see happen with AEW, something that I think bit TNA kind of hard, is that you don't want to see them try to replicate or become what WWE is. The whole reason I find AEW attractive as a company is because it's an alternative. Sure, you have some familiar faces there, obviously, and it's still a professional wrestling show with a square ring and all that shit, and feuds and tag team titles and women's matches and stuff like that. It's still a wrestling show, but it's the look, it's the feel, it's the vibe, it's the energy, it's the environment. When you can get a different vibe like that, that's what I like most. And WWE and WCW gave us that. Nitro and Raw did feel different, even though a lot of the stars on both shows had been on the other shows before. The environments were different. I felt like Nitro was a different show than Raw. Raw does not seem like a different show than SmackDown. They seem the exact fucking same show, except one's red and one's blue. That's it. AEW, completely different. Much different setup, much different energy, much different vibe. Gives you a lot of that nostalgic WWE feel, WCW feel that you got from them when they were on Turner stations back in the day. So I don't want this hire to result in things kind of being streamlined or produced in a WWE type of way. You know what I mean? Because I think AEW already has excellent production values. They're not quite as glossy as WWE, but that's what I like about them. I don't need to see 3D renders, on the screen during entrances. I don't need to see all that shit. All I just need to see is nice, good, clear production where I can hear the audio and the music and I can rock out and have a good time and enjoy the wrestling show. I don't need lasers and sparklers and shit like that like WWE does. So I really hope that you don't start seeing that in AEW, because Tony Khan, in an interview with TV Insider, did confirm some of the reports and rumors that have already been rumbling about AEW, and that they are, in fact, going to be starting a new look next month in January. I think the January 4th Dynamite is going to be a brand new look and a brand new set for AEW. Now, I'm not sure how crazy they're going to go here. I'm glad that they're changing things up. It's been 3 years now, so I'm assuming that maybe the heel and babyface tunnels go away. Possibly something like that. I hope that we don't get a stage and just a big Tron, and it's just a carbon copy of what we've seen in wrestling for the last 20 years. I still hope they kind of keep a unique style to it. I'm not sure if that chandelier thing or whatever that thing that hangs over the entrance is going to stay. If it does, maybe it's incorporated differently, or maybe it's more in the background to where it's still there and visible, but not as a centerpiece anymore. I don't know what they're going to do. And it could just be something minor. It could be something that we're all used to and we get over in 3 weeks. It's very possible that whatever the changes are, they're minor and it's not going to be a complete overhaul. It's just going to be some tweaking, some bells and whistles, a little bit of a facelift, and I think that's fine. And I'm excited to see what that looks like. And this new hire could have something to do with how the set design looks and what they do going forward here for Dynamite and Rampage. But I'm very excited to see how that looks, and it's possible I'm going to see it in person. Just today, I was searching the January 11th LA Forum show tickets, which I wasn't planning on going to, but I think I've got that day off, and I think Elizabeth does too, and the tickets aren't too horrible. I was looking at like StubHub. Obviously, I'll be paying a lot, but I went to Double or Nothing and had great seats. I can get the same seats equivalent of what I had at Double or Nothing for just over $100, and we can just drive up to LA. So I think there's a really good chance I'm going to attend that January 11th Forum show. If any of you are going, let me know. Maybe we can meet up, but I'm not totally sure on that yet. But I think it's probably pretty doable if I propose this to Elizabeth and say, hey, you want to go? She will probably be down with it. So I might be going to that show. And if I am, it will be pretty cool to see that new set, what that looks like, and there are some pretty big matches, I think, already booked for that show, including a mystery partner for Saraya. So we might see old Mercedes showing up there in the Dynamite Zone on January 11th. We will have to see. There's also some other news involving AEW, and it looks like they are going to be having a streaming deal after all. A streaming deal is apparently imminent with, I've never heard of this streaming service before. It's called, I don't know if it's an acronym, DAZN, DAZN, whatever this is. I think it's an outfit based in the UK. And when they were listing their sports combat properties that they're going to be offering in 2023, AEW's logo was seen on there. So it sounds like we're going to get some sort of announcement about a streaming deal for AEW on whatever DAZN is. I don't know if any of you guys use it. You can let me know, fill me in what it's like and what you find on it. Never even heard of it before. But apparently that's where AEW could be streaming in the future. And if that's the case, hopefully that means their video library will be there. We can watch all the Dynamites, all the Rampages. Hopefully also, maybe some Ring of Honor stuff is on there, but they're already going to have the Honor Club. So this sounds like it just might be an AEW type of deal. And hopefully we can access all of their previous pay-per-views. Don't know how any of this is going to work yet, but it looks like a streaming deal is coming. And that could be good for their dark programs and, Elevation and all that stuff. So no details about that and what that includes, but it does sound like that is going to be the platform that AEW will be streaming on in 2023, and expect an announcement on that very soon. Sticking with AEW, layest on Jeff Hardy, really not much to say there. Of course, Jeff was arrested a few months back after Double or Nothing for yet another DUI in the state of Florida with a myriad of charges. The biggest one could face a 5-year imprisonment penalty if convicted, and he has had several continuations, was just granted another continuation, and now his pre-trial is moved all the way until, I believe, late January. So nothing new on Jeff Hardy. They are continuing to just move his trial forward and postpone it as many times as they can. I don't know why. I can only assume that probably they want Jeff completed through rehab, clean and sober, and resumed his normal life prior to facing the music for this stuff, so they can show and present the court that not only has he completed rehab, he's been clean and sober for X amount of days, he's resumed work with his employer if Tony Khan agrees to bring him back for whatever reason, and they can show evidence that Jeff has been good since this happened. So that's my only thought as to why they would continue this, is that they need to show Jeff in the best light possible to the courts, because Jeff could legitimately face some prison time here if he's convicted. Probably not. He's probably going to escape by the skin of his ass here with some prison time, but I think if anything else happens to him again, he's going away. He's going to be sunnied because sooner or later, if Jeff Hardy doesn't get his act together, he could very well do what Sonny did by smashing into somebody and killing them, which he put a lot of people on the road at risk that day. So very little sympathy for Jeff Hardy, even though I love him. Fellow NC, North Carolinian. Been watching him wrestle since he was a fucking child. But at the same time, you have to be responsible for your own actions. And I hope that Jeff this time can finally get clean and stay clean for good. Let's hope so. Speaking of tough guys, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, did you see that story about him stopping that home intruder? Really crazy story. A guy was running around in Hacksaw's neighborhood in South Carolina, beating on everybody's door, begging them to let him in, and claiming that people in the neighborhood were trying to kill him or something like that. Nobody would let him in. He wound up hopping the fence into Duggan's front yard and entered right through his front door, which apparently was unlocked, which is weird that he would leave it unlocked, and came in the house acting all erratic and scared, and Duggan took him down and pinned him to the ground, went and got his pistol and held him at gunpoint until the cops came. And Duggan has done a couple of interviews. I saw him on that fucker Carlson show, do a clip from there saying, it's a good thing the gun wasn't in my hand. I would have shot him. It sounds like this guy was legitimately running away from people. So I don't know who was after him and who's in the right. Maybe he was actually a victim, but it had something to do with a previous legal matter with him and some other neighbors. That's all I read on the story. So I don't really know or care to know the details on this guy's life. But it did involve Hacksaw Jim Duggan, which is a legend. And he just completed radiation treatment for his prostate cancer, I believe, right? Recently, he's been through some health problems as of late, but he's still badass enough and tough enough to take down a motherfucker in South Carolina if he has to. And I'm glad that that's all that happened, because a situation like that could have been more tragic if the situation was different. Somebody could have been hurt. Somebody could have been killed. Innocent people could have been killed. And I'm glad that whole situation was resolved without any injuries or fatalities. And that's awesome. So good job, Hacksaw, for taking care of business there. And wow, crazy fucking story, man. We mentioned Raw earlier on. Raw is not going to be live this coming Monday. They announced this past Monday on Raw that this week's show was going to be a best of show. Now, this caught a lot of people by surprise because WWE was not advertising this ahead of time. SmackDown has already been taped. SmackDown goes live here in an hour, and that was taped last week. So it was weird that they would be coming back for a live Raw this week, which many people thought was going to be in Madison Square Garden. It is not. The SmackDown crew is there for a house show, and the Raw crew is in Columbus for a house show. So there's going to be 2 live events on Monday night. Neither of them will be televised. The televised show is going to be a best of 2022 Raw that will air for 3, count 'em, hours on Monday. So I'm just going to take Monday off and not watch a goddamn minute of that. And that's that. So that gives the WWE crew no television tapings from December 20th through the 28th. That's an 8-day break for the TV crew, which is great. Now, the talent, I think, has still got to be on the road and doing their talent duties and working the house shows and whatnot, but it is nice to see that the talent does have a little, or some of the crew there has a good chunk of the holidays off before picking things back up at the end of the year with SmackDown and then, of course, Raw on January 2nd. So this Raw will be interesting, or won't be very interesting, I should say, because it's just a best of 2022 show. And as I've pitched many times before, I've mentioned this several times throughout the years on the channel. I know WWE has tried to do the Slammy Awards in recent years, and they always suck because they would always just incorporate them into a Monday Night Raw, and they would just put a podium on the side of the Raw stage. So lame, so lazy, and they would just pull awards out of their ass and parade people out there and give it to them. It was stupid. And I've been begging WWE for years to just reserve one Monday or one night in December every year for like a banquet style Slammy Awards like they did in the 1980s and the 1990s. In 86 and 87, they kind of did it like a theater where everybody would be a suit and a tie and there would be a stage and a podium up there. And then in 96 and 97, they did more of like a banquet hall where everybody was sitting down having dinner and there was a stage up there. I thought it was a fun setting to see the wrestlers in that environment, in tuxes, in random crazy outfits, having dinner, kicking back, drinking, listening to stories, watching people win awards. I've always loved and enjoyed the setup of the Slammy Awards, especially when they're held at the end of the year. In the 90s, they held them the night before WrestleMania. Now that's kind of for the Hall of Fame. But in December, I know in the 80s, I think they were both held in December or very, very late in the year. And that's when it's best, I think. So with all of these Raws during the holidays, some of them falling on holidays and whatnot, you should tape this. You should tape a Slammies and air it on like a Monday over the holidays and give the crew that week off and still provide content for the audience. Because if they're allowed to do a tribute show that's just going to be highlights on Monday, USA's obviously okay with that. So why wouldn't they be okay with a Slammy Awards presentation instead? 3-hour Slammy Awards where everybody's dressed up, and it can also serve as a best of and year in review show every year. It can be a combination where you pass out awards and then you highlight the biggest moments of the year, you review the year, which is pretty much what they're going to do on Raw anyway. But this way, you add a whole nother concept to it, and I think it would be so fun to do that. So WWE, please bring back the Slammy Awards and bring them back right. Not on TV, not on Raw, where you just put the podium next to the stage and in between matches you give out Slammies. No, the whole show, the Slammies. Suit or tuxes for the men, evening gowns for the women, shenanigans, all sorts of fun. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Harley Race famously brawled all over the theater that time, breaking into the women's locker room and hitting each other with makeup, and they brawled into the catering area. It was so fun. I want to see shit like that again, except instead of Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Harley Race, it's Sheamus and Gunther. Oh my God. Come on, Triple H. Get on that. Speaking of upcoming shows before the year's over, of course, December 30th, SmackDown marks the in-ring return of John Cena. John Cena announced his return last week on SmackDown in a video Tron appearance or did he do it on, was it Raw? I forgot when he did it. I'm pretty sure it was last week on SmackDown. And announced that he's going to be the tag team partner of Kevin Owens to face Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns 1 week from tonight on SmackDown next week. That's extremely interesting because John Cena was back in the summer for John Cena Appreciation Night, and he didn't do anything. I thought he was there to kick off an angle for SummerSlam, and he didn't do nothing. He came in and kissed the babies and said hello and left, peaced out. So we thought we were actually going to get the entire year of 2022 without John Cena having a wrestling match. But Ernest returns to the WWE. You ever notice he's kind of looking like Ernest, those Ernest movies, John Cena? Ernest returns to WWE. Ernest saves WWE on December 30th, tag teaming with Kevin Owens. This should be interesting, and it is going to add a lot of speculation to John Cena's WrestleMania status. And I think there's a really good chance he works at WrestleMania. There's also really a good chance he works the Royal Rumble. And when you think about some of the other names currently big legends, I should say, that have been rumored and that have had matches recently. First of all, props to Kevin Owens for not only having a match with Stone Cold Steve Austin, but also teaming with John Cena within the same year. Who else has done that? Who has wrestled Austin and teamed with Cena in the same year? I don't think anybody has. Because the only year it would have been possible would have been 2002. That's it, when Cena was brand spanking new. Not even, man. Actually, I think Austin was gone by the time Cena debuted. I mean, it was they were not even anywhere near each other. So I don't think that it was possible for anybody else. I think Kevin Owens is the only guy to hold that accolade. But when you think about Stone Cold Steve Austin, he worked last year in the main event of WrestleMania. There has been a lot of talk about Austin doing it again. Last year was a big success. Why not bring him back? Okay, so there's Cena, and there's Austin now possibly wrestling at WrestleMania. Who's the other big name that's been heavily rumored for WrestleMania 39? It's that movie star, that bald fucker. It's a little bit less handsome than me. Dwayne, The Rock, Johnson. Let me set the stage for you. You're in the Royal Rumble. There's 8 guys in there, random guys. Countdown, 10, 9, 8. You get down to 1, and dun, 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 and here comes John Cena. Holy shit, John Cena's here. Happy times. He gets in the ring. He cleans house. Eventually, maybe one more person comes in after that, maybe, but probably not. John Cena hits the ring, and within 2 minutes, he eliminates every person in the ring, and he's in there by himself. Do this kind of early. Do this in the first half of the Royal Rumble, and don't save it for the finish. Do it like halfway through. Cena comes in, eliminates everybody. He's in there by himself. Countdown goes down. 3, 2, 1. Glass shatters. Stone Cold Steve Austin is entered the Royal Rumble. He's coming down to the ring. John Cena is shitting himself. He can't believe it. Austin gets in the ring. He hits all 4 corners. And don't forget, as soon as he gets in the ring, that countdown starts again. So he's hitting the corners. The fans are shitting their pants. Holy shit, we have John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the ring. So much time goes by with the fans chanting, holy shit, and you got the stare down between Austin and Cena. Austin, of course, has to walk that long entrance, hit the corners. All that time passes, and by the time they're face to face and they're just about to come to blows, you see the 10-second thing show up. And as soon as they're about to pull back on each other, 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1... if you smell, and out comes the fucking Rock. And remember back at the beginning of WrestleMania 30 when you had Austin, Rock, and Hogan in the ring just doing a little ceremony? Now it's Austin, Rock, and Cena. Not just doing a little beer ceremony. They fighting. So now we've got Cena, Rock, and Austin in the ring, the 3 of them together in the Royal Rumble. And they just start fighting each other. And then it's up to you guys who comes out next. I don't know who you bring out next. I would probably have it be someone like Tozawa or somebody hilarious like that to come out and be in the middle of these guys. Like, who's somebody that's very, very low on the roster right now that could really use it? Maybe somebody like Ali. What a great boost for him to be the next guy to come out there and him to stand in the ring with those legends. That is a scenario, as crazy as it sounds to say out loud, theoretically is actually possible. We could see that. All 3 of these guys are rumored to have WrestleMania matches. So why not throw them all in the Royal Rumble? None of them have to win it. That's why I said do it early in the match where you can have this moment and then somehow they all get eliminated and somebody else wins the Rumble. I don't know how you get them all out of there. Don't even know how you do that. Seems like the 3 of them would be pretty fucking unstoppable to anybody that came in there, and it would have to be one of the 3 of them winning. But you might be able to do maybe Brock. Brock would be an excellent person to come out 4th. If Brock is not going to have like a Hell in a Cell match with Bobby Lashley, which is also rumored for the Rumble, Brock might be a fun guy to have come out and be that 4th guy. Or even Roman if he chose to defend in the Rumble. But when you think about that scenario actually being possible, because you can't really say, oh, Greg, that would never happen. Why wouldn't it happen? It seems possible. There's been other years where there's been no chance of hell of a scenario like that happening, but I think it could actually happen now if they really wanted it to. So we'll see. I just think that would be great for the fans. I could see those guys texting each other, like Cena texting Rock, hey, bro, how's your movie schedule? You know, want to do the Rumble? Let's check with Steve. Steve, you want to do the Rumble? It'd be great for the fans. We'll work out the details later, but why don't we all book ourselves for the Rumble, tell Triple H we'll be there, and we'll do something in the Rumble for the fans where all three of us are in the ring at the same time. None of us have to win. Let's just do it. The fans deserve it. They'd get a kick out of it. I can see Cena starting this conversation, and then The Rock being like, hell yeah, man, and Austin being like, hell yeah, man. In a perfect world, that's what I would like to see. But if Corbin, R-Truth would be an excellent one. So would Greg Gagne. QT Marshall. QT Marshall. That would be a good one too. So I think a scenario like that for the Royal Rumble could be so ridiculously fun if they wanted to. I mean, hell, Undertaker could be the fourth guy in that scenario, perhaps. I don't know. But it could happen. All I'm saying is the Rumble and WrestleMania both have, I think, enormous potential for surprises and fun. And that's exciting. What else do I have in my notes here before we get out of here? I've got a little bit of news on Monday Night Raw. Raw's rating this week did 1.7 million. We saw the return of Bronson Reed. It was a pretty good show on Monday, I will say. Bronson Reed returned. Not much of a reaction for Bronson, but still really glad to see him back in WWE because I thought he was a fantastic big man. And I know he was high on Triple H's list of rehires when he took over from Vince. We also had Bayley defeating Becky. That was a pretty good match. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins teamed up in the main event to beat the Usos. That was fun. AJ and Sammy was fun. Ripley beat Tozawa in an intergender match. Pretty good Monday Night Raw. This week, we know is the best of show. And then on January 2nd, we got a pretty big card planned with Theory defending his U.S. title against Rollins and Bianca Belair defending against Alexa Bliss. We also saw Alexa break the vase of flowers or whatever it was over Bianca's head in their little sit-down interview. So Alexa is kind of going full heel there. We'll see if they might do something on January 2nd to set up a rematch for Royal Rumble. That could actually be possible. Otherwise, Bianca is going to have to beat Alexa and then move on to a completely new opponent by Royal Rumble. But if WWE wants to get Alexa back into the top contender swing of things and make her a big deal again, and they've been doing all this teasing with Bray Wyatt, I feel like Alexa, if she loses here to Bianca, she's probably going to go to SmackDown. Or they do something in the match where you have to have a return match and you rebook it for the Royal Rumble, because I can't just see Alexa turning heel, losing, and then that's the end of it. She's going to be doing more than that. So I think she'll either maybe even beat Bianca for the title and then lose it back to her at the Royal Rumble. That's very possible. Or Bianca, there's some sort of weird shenanigans in that match, DQ, some sort of weird wonky finish where they have to book it for the Royal Rumble again. So we'll see how that goes. Last week's SmackDown was pretty good. Gunther and Ricochet tore the house down for the Intercontinental title. I laughed my balls off at the Top Dollar botch. That was great stuff. And of course, Uncle Howdy made an appearance in the segment with Bray Wyatt and LA Knight. And a lot of people have been saying LA Knight has been outperforming Bray Wyatt on the mic in this feud. And that's incredible to think, but it's true, because LA Knight is fucking great. It amazes me that Vince McMahon saw Max Dupree in this guy when there was nothing at all wrong with LA Knight or that presentation at all. You already changed his name, and then you changed his WWE name to an even worse WWE name. Should have never ventured away from LA Knight. That's where the money was, and so far he's been doing pretty well in this feud, and Uncle Howdy made an appearance on the stage physically, not just on the Tron, but he actually walked out to the stage. A lot of people were trying to speculate on, who it was under there. I don't really, whenever they're trying to do something like this, I don't really try to analyze too much the body type of the person that's under the mask, because you could have anybody under the mask. It does not matter. It doesn't have to be who the end result is going to be. And I still think that it's not completely out of the question that they're still going to try to make Uncle Howdy Bray Wyatt somehow. And because it was kind of a stockier guy. A lot of people think it could be Bo Dallas under the mask, and that's very possible. Who knows who Uncle Howdy will turn out to be, but it is now looking like he is going to be a separate character in this Bray Wyatt universe, unless they try to, make this a Stranger Things situation where Uncle Howdy is the upside-down version of Bray Wyatt. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know, but Uncle Howdy made his presence known on SmackDown. So it sounds like are they really going to drag Wyatt and LA Knight all the way to the Rumble? Is that where the match is going to take place? Because Bray Wyatt is still yet to get in the ring and have any kind of match. And I do think something happens with him and LA Knight tonight on SmackDown, but no match takes place. So I'm not really sure what to make or what to think about Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy and what he's going to wind up doing next. It sounds like they're taking things very slow with him, and the LA Knight feud is just, is introductory feud, because apparently they do have big plans for Bray Wyatt come WrestleMania. So we'll see if those plans stay intact as we get closer to that day. Also, a lot of talk of Gunther taking on Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I think that's awesome. It makes me worried for Gunther because he's been so fucking badass. We need to find that next Lesnar. We need to have that next guy that, that strikes fear. And Gunther has been doing so well with that Intercontinental title. I really hope that he does not drop the title, but if he's going to have a match with Lesnar, that implies that Gunther probably will drop the IC prior to Lesnar. Now, I really hope he does not drop that IC title to Braun Strowman, but it feels like that might be the direction they're going in. Braun Strowman facing Gunther at the Royal Rumble. The only way I'd be okay with Strowman beating Gunther for the title is if Brock Lesnar interfered in that match and cost Gunther the match. But why would Brock do that? There would have to be something set up, unless both of these men are in the Rumble. Well, no, that would have to happen after. I don't know how it's all going to work. Lesnar would just have to, for some reason, target Gunther, want to take him out for some reason in order for that to make any sense in storyline. But I think that's really the only way. I'd be cool with Strowman winning the IC title, because I don't want Strowman to beat Gunther clean for the IC and then Gunther goes into WrestleMania and lose to Brock clean. I don't want to see that. I'd rather just see Gunther break the Honky Tonk Man's record of the longest running Intercontinental Champion of all time. I'd much rather have that than watch Gunther go into Mania and lose to Lesnar. However, Gunther and Lesnar would be fun as hell. What a match that would be. So it would be fun to watch, but I kind of worry for Gunther's safety in that one, if you know what I mean. Like I said, circling back to AEW Dynamite this past week, 957,000 they drew in the rating, so right in their little sweet spot there. Rick Ross being a part of Swerve's new mogul crew, or whatever they are, was pretty funny, because he dropped a big motherfucker line, which was great, and they debuted that big tattooed bastard that nobody has seen before alongside Parker Boudreaux as part of Swerve's new little stable. It was ridiculously bad and ridiculously good and interesting at the same time. I thought it was fun. Absolutely loved the women's match between Hayter and Sheeta. Great stuff there. And of course, the Elite pulled closer in their best of 7 series with the Death Triangle winning that no DQ match, getting the series pulled up to now 3-2. So they'll try to even it next week, and it looks like they probably will, which will make match number 7 on that January 11th show that I will likely attend. So that's looking good. Rampage later on tonight has got that $300,000 Trios Holiday Battle Royal. So I guess they win some money there. Not sure if they get a title shot or not, but you got the Trios Battle Royal going on tonight on Rampage, along with Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett taking on Anthony Bowens and Daddy Ass. And we also have Jade in an Eliminator TBS Championship match against someone. So that's going on tonight on the Rampage. So that pretty much hits the end of my notes. Sorry for speaking kind of fast at the end there, but I got to be signing off here within the next 8 minutes because I'm off to work this evening, but I do want to cruise over here to the chat and knock out a few more questions and super chats and that type of stuff. Would really appreciate it if you guys could hit that thumbs up button for me before we leave. I'd appreciate it. Yep. Just taking a quick second. Sometimes you just got to block people for putting stupid shit in there. There we go. Took care of that. Let me see. Who did I miss here? Jordan Card, appreciate that $5 earlier from you, man. What's up, Greg? So sorry to hear about Bub. Wishing you and your family the best Christmas. Same to you, my friend. As always, you've been a supporter on this channel for so long. Very much appreciate the kind words and the support. And that goes for all you guys, man. Seriously. You guys, you don't know, but you did play a role in, helping me get through all that stuff with Bub. And so did Elizabeth. I can't say enough good things about her. She cooked for me and took care of me every night and just made sure that I didn't have anything to worry about. And she just let me deal with what I needed to deal with. And she was there by my side through all of it too. So I wouldn't have been able to get through it without her. She was amazing. She took really good care of me. It was awesome. And you guys offering the well wishes is, equally helpful. Jimmy Fingers, thanks for that $20, man. Very kind. $20.19 from Jimmy Fingers 19. What's the significance of the 19, by the way? Might not be. I don't think it's your age, because that will expire. You'll be Jimmy Fingers 20 next year. But that's cool. Appreciate that very generous super chat. Great to see you here as always. I am the biggest Bray Wyatt mark out there, but this thing has been dragging for so long now that I am rooting for LA Knight. I thought the Uncle Howdy getup looked ridiculous. That figure last Friday was a stagehand. Howdy is Bray. Okay, so you guys are pretty much echoing what I think. Howdy is probably still Bray, just a stunt double or whatever underneath that getup. I didn't think the getup looked too ridiculous because we've already seen it on the Tron. He looked the same to me as we've seen in the vignettes and stuff. But yeah, the whole thing might be a little bit too out there for some people. And I get that. It might be a little bit too out there for me too. I don't really like goblins and spooky monsters and shit. It's not really my thing. But I do love Bray Wyatt as a performer, and I'm just hoping that whatever this crazy shit is turns out to be really good. And I agree with the dragging on type of thing, because I kind of briefly forgot about the whole Uncle Howdy thing for a few weeks there. I missed a couple of SmackDowns and work was busy and crazy life, and then 3 weeks went by. I'm like, oh yeah, what's the latest with Bray Wyatt? And really nothing. He's just still been doing the stuff with LA Knight on TV. So you feel that Howdy is Bray, and I kind of concur with you based on my limited knowledge of this, currently at the time. So yeah, but thanks again for that, Jimmy. Very awesome of you. Thanks for being here again. And yeah, Sean Swaby, do I think Mercedes could be the one to dethrone Jade Cargill? Somebody's got to be the one. Somebody's got to dethrone her. Now, you're going to have the crew that's going to say, oh, why give it to Mercedes when it can be somebody like Statlander or something? I agree. I think Statlander was actually primed and ready to take that title off of her, but she got hurt, so that's not their fault. But if you want to make a splash, and if it's a way that would still keep Jade strong, because if Jade has an open challenge or a mystery opponent and it turns out to be Mercedes, Jade has no time to prepare for a woman who is main evented WrestleMania. And so if Jade loses or gets caught off guard or something like that and loses the title, she can easily come out on TV next week. Yeah, bitch, let's see what happens when I see you coming. I challenge you to a rematch right now. Let's do it next week or whatever. Do it right here, whenever. If I know it's going to be you, I know how to prepare for you, and I know I can beat you. The only reason you're walking around with my championship right now is because you caught me off guard. I'm bigger. I'm stronger. I'm a better looking star. They can even have that. Think of that. Jade and Sasha, I think, both have desires to be very important figures and, and influencers in the world, and to be a big, a big star. And they can compete for that. And they can brag about who's bigger and who has a better look and who makes more money and all that stuff. That could be fun. That could be really fun. Promo battle between Jade Cargill and Sasha or Mercedes. I like it. I like it, man. I'm into it. Oh, Jimmy, it's your gimmick. I understand that. I got a gimmick too. It's good mic work. We're also seeing some teases. Mike is right. Character change to Asuka. She's kind of been posting some pictures that kind of resemble her look when she was Kana, and that would be cool. I could see Triple H doing that, freshening her up. Kind of lost on Raw. She's lost that green shit all over her face, so she's changing up too. I like that. I'm into the Mercedes and Jade idea. I really am. I like that a lot. Like it a lot. But anyway, I have got to go to work. We're busy. They need me. I got to go down there and talk to customers and do shit like that. So I am out of here. I want to thank you guys very, very much for hanging out with me this afternoon on this Friday Winged Eagle podcast. And I want to wish everyone out there a very happy holiday, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever you celebrate during this time of year. Even if you celebrate nothing, even if you're not a religious person or anything like that, generally this time of year is meant for family and togetherness and love and all of that. So whatever you are doing and whatever you're celebrating and however you are spending your time within the next couple of days, I wish you a absolutely fantastic holiday and love you guys very much. So make sure you stay tuned here to the channel. We'll be up in a couple of days for a Dynamite live reaction, most likely. I'm also going to have some mic drops and YouTube shorts hitting the channel throughout the weekend, probably even Christmas Day. You'll see some of those. And of course, we will be here before the year is out for lots of good stuff and a big January plan with Royal Rumble watch-alongs and all that kind of crap. So make sure you shoot me a follow. I'll be talking to you guys throughout the holidays on social media at GoodMikeWork1 on Instagram and at GoodMikeWork on Twitter. If you guys want to follow me and find out what's going on, make sure you follow me over there and have a great, great rest of your night and excellent weekend. Enjoy SmackDown, and I'll